Okay. And you?
Yeah. I'm great. You have, I've got coffee. How have you
This,
been?
this is this is soft.
Yeah. How have you been keeping during these difficult times?
I'm doing fine. I'm a student and studying to become an electrician. So for me, it's business as usual. Except we're not doing so much lab experiments with wires and stuff. So
Is that difficult to learn then?
electrician.
Yeah.
Well, nowadays it's a bit more it's more technical than it was 20, 30 years ago because there's a lot of new technology you have to learn.
Yeah.
And a shitload of rules and regulations for safety reasons you have to learn about, and they might sometimes go against each other, so it can be a bit confusing even as
Yeah.
a trained electrician.
Oh, I remember when I was in school, didn't have a clue what was going on. Didn't have any clue what why electricity and the connections and all this business. I'm so scared of changing a bulb these days. I keep looking and I'm like, have I switched the electric off? And then I'm going, right, I've got two switches. Did I switch that? The bulb is gone. Did I? Oh, I'll leave it.
uh, as long as you turn the main power off, if you're gonna do any kind of wiring, then it should be fine.
Oh, I'm useless. I am deadly, and I stay away from electrics.
uh,
So, can you tell me a bit about the band? How you all met? What was your influences in music, and what influenced you to become a band?
okay, so short story. Christopher and Niklas are brothers. Christopher has lived down south in Malmö for many years, or no, just a couple of years, 1 or 2 years or something like that. And but they grew up together. So after Koffe came back to Norrland, the northern section of Sweden,
Yeah,
he and Niklas had started to discuss to create a band, and this was around 2006 or 2000, early 2007 maybe, but I think it was even the year before. Uh, and they started discussing that then, and at the same time, Niklas and me were playing in a band called Lifany. It's kind of like Tool slash Meshuggah-ish band.
yeah,
So I played the drum, he played the bass there, and that band fell apart. And at that time, Niklas approached me and asked me if I wanted to play with him and his brother in a new band.
yeah,
So that's where it took off. And Christopher explained to me his vision of the band, that there were certain elements he wanted to incorporate in the music, namely going from very hard to very soft sounds like Opeth does,
yeah,
or did at least during the early days, that they could play really aggressive stuff, and then all of a sudden it's jumping into a very soft part of a song. And that's very
yeah,
typically old Opeth. And so those kind of things were something appealing to Christopher. And also he introduced me to Breach, a band from up north Sweden
yeah,
back then. So Breach, ideas of Breach and Opeth, and Niklas and me are deeply into King Crimson, a progressive rock band from England.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so yeah, well, I've listened to them since in my teens, and I'm close to my 40s. So it's been a
Yeah,
long time listening to them, and Niklas
yeah.
too. So
So,
it's a mixture. It's a mixture of King Crimson, Opeth, and Breach. That's where it took off from the beginning, and later on we started to broaden the perspective, that it's not that narrowed anymore. It's starting to broaden.
Well, for myself, like in the 80s and all that, a lot of the main artists, when I say main artists, I'm talking about like out in America, American bands and British bands. But in this modern day, I'm finding Norwegian, Danish, Swedish, a lot of the good bands now are coming from your area, and I don't know what like is creating all that, but the actual music which is coming from Sweden and from Norway and Denmark and Finland,
Scandinavia.
Yeah, some brilliant artists, some amazing albums.
All right.
Yeah. You released a new album at the beginning of the year. How have the fans and all that taken to it and the media?
Well, the response has been better than earlier even. The last album we recorded, All Is Left to See, was the first album released by someone else. Because Kristoffer has his own record label. It is a pretty small label, but we released it, all the 2 first albums and the debut EP through his label. So we did everything on our own back then. And then Up Till All Is Left to See was released through Temple of Tortures by a guy in Gothenburg, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So we've kept it pretty national, even now when we got our new record deal with Sign Records, and they have been the best so far and really spread the word about us. I mean, we as a band we have to do it ourselves also a lot of promotion on our own, but with a better deal with a record label, you get more support, and Signed Records has been really understanding and know where we're coming from. And that's a really important thing, to have that kind of chemistry between the record label and the musicians, that they understand each other, know where they're coming from, and they're on the same level.
And where's this record label based?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but you can check up on that later. But Sign Records with Kai Sivervik, is the guy that signed us, is stationed in Linköping, if I'm not misinformed, because he's been there before, at least for several years. But I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Linköping.
Yeah, I look it up and all that. It's your album is amazing. It's like I say, the amount of good albums and good music and good artists which are coming from Sweden, Finland, and all that is amazing, and the album is fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Have you where did you record it? And can you tell me a bit about the recording? How long it took to write? How long was you in the studio? What was the studio you were at?
At this time, we did everything very smoothly. I would say it took us around 10 days, maybe, or something like that, in total. And we recorded it once again in Ropstugan, if I'm not mistaken. Me and names. I'm good with personal names. Person's names, but when it comes to certain details, I forget. But Ropstugan in Holmsund, it's a small suburb south of Umeå. We recorded the first 2 albums there, and then the 3rd album we recorded in a more fancy place called Tonteknik, where Meshuggah and Refused recorded some of their stuff. But this time we went back to Ropstugan, and it feels more comfortable because it's pretty cheap space to rent, and they have decent gear, so we don't have to bring everything ourselves. We do have a lot of equipment on our own. So it took around 10 days. I was finished drumming in 2 days, and everyone had a good time because didn't felt very stressed because we had rehearsed a lot and we had planned thoroughly through this whole process, and we even rewrote some stuff on the music. We had that much time we could actually start pondering about rewriting some stuff in the songs during recording, and usually that doesn't come easily if you have a tight budget and the schedule and such. But
so what, when you're in the studio, do you do it layered, or do you do it like live as all band, or do you do separate, put down the drums, then guitars and all that?
Individually or collectively?
Yeah.
This time we did it individually, but we have recorded everything as everyone together. All is left to see. And that album was recorded everyone at once except the vocals and some overlays of guitar effects and some bass effects. But that's basically sound pedal effects, which you can hear live anyway. But this time we recorded everything once again individually. And I don't really remember what the thought process behind it were, except we had discussed it before, and it doesn't matter that much to me personally. But I do get the feeling of when you play everything together, the feeling is more, what do you call it, intense, or the collective vibe is more present, I would say.
Yeah.
And I think you can hear it sometimes with bands who play everything at once, record it at once, that it sounds more tight sometimes.
Yeah, it's my band, when we went into the studio, we played it and recorded as a winner and all that, because at the time it was our very first time going into a studio, so we didn't know really what was the best ways and things like that. But the next time we go in, we're gonna go down and layer it and all that. And
which band do you play in?
Pardon?
Which band do you play in?
We haven't played for quite some time because I'm ex-forces. But my name of the band is Noose. Spelled Noose. Spelled N-O-O. Instead of an S, it's a 5E.
5E. Okay, all right.
Yeah. We're on Spotify and all that. So yeah, should check it out. Think some of our songs.
Yeah, as I was gonna just add one thing. The main thing why we did it collectively, the last album, is number one, we had a tight schedule, and recording it together is usually easier if you have a rehearsed properly. Yeah. But also number two was, of course, like I said before, that you can get this certain intense vibe and it sounds a bit more tight. But this time we had plenty of time. This last album, we had plenty of time to record it. So, and so it's also easier to edit some stuff if you play something incorrectly. Sometimes everyone plays really good except one person at 1 second, and it's really obvious. Yeah. And sometimes there's leakage or something you can't really block out with sound, what do you call it, wall equipments to block off different recordings. Sometimes it's not that easy to remove it or re-record a special section.
Yeah.
So that's why we did it the old, not the more modern way, since it is.
Hello. Hello.
Postponing the whole tour for next year.
Yeah.
or we're doing it later this autumn or early winter. It's unsure at the moment because of the times that they are. But yeah, it has been harder to promote it.
Yeah. So you're talking about festivals in Sweden. What's it like out there for the festival side of it? Is it very popular? Is it like download or I can't think of the other one now. Bloodstock Festival. Is it anything like those, or is it smaller or larger?
Honestly, I don't know so much about abroad festivals except like Wacken and some other festival. But in terms of numbers, I can tell you that Getaway, which is now called Gefle Metal, is it's almost as big as Sweden Rock. So I would say it's around 5,000 guests, or maybe 7,000 guests or something. So Gefle Metal is several thousands, and the Finnish festival we were also supposed to do is slightly smaller, maybe 2,000, 3,000. I'm not sure because I haven't been to that before, but Sweden Rock we have played at before, so I know how it looks like a mini version of Wacken basically, except it's more broader in terms of music.
Yeah,
it's some oldies but goodies there, and also there's some more modern bands playing, and it's not just power metal and such. It's more broader. Some death metal bands, some black metal bands, and some hard rock 70s bands. So it's pretty broad. And Gefle Metal is really good at that. That they have really all sorts of types. I remember one year Ministry and Morbid Angel played at the same time.
Oh wow! I love both those bands.
Oh, me too.
I would. I keep saying, well, Mayhem is due to come over to the UK later this year, I think. So I'm trying to get tickets for it. For that.
Well, it hasn't been cancelled yet.
I don't think so. It might have been postponed. I'm not sure, but I know dates went up not so long back, and nothing as of yet has been cancelled. Anyway, so what's the venues like over in Sweden? Is do you have a lot of rock or underground style venues, and for the death metal scene and things like that?
Oh yeah. I forgot to answer that. Yeah, we have. It's almost venues, not so much, but bands. It's we have an inflation of metal bands. There's so many bands and so many doing music that if you're playing at a gig, half of the audience is playing in a band themselves, and and I take the good with the bad in that one. I don't mind, because it's playing music is what do you say? It's it's therapeutical in many ways, and it also helps you enhance in other fields in as a human being. Yeah. So I don't care so much if a lot of people in the audience are just another band member in some other band or something that might actually play the same night. That's very common. But it wasn't like that 20 years ago or something. But now a lot of bands are out there, but not all of them are very active. It's actually just quite a few who really are doing it year in and out over the decades. A lot of them just stop playing because of mundane reasons like family and education and work and stuff like that. So, but we have lots of bands and there are gigs, but the venues aren't that much. Especially we don't have a lot of medium-sized venues. We have lots of small punk venues and quite a few big venues. So like venues that can house 1,000, 2,000 people, and arenas that can house 15,000 people or something like that. But venues that can house between 500 and 1,000, which is a lot of death metal bands play for those kind of venues, and bands like into modern metal like Meshuggah and stuff like that. It's harder for them to find a suitable arena.
No, it's one of my goals to come over to Sweden, over to Norway, Finland. I'm gonna do a little tour and go to some of these underground sort of venues and all that to see some death metal, because I think over in your area, I think it'd be more extreme than what it is over here, because we do have death metal bands, but they don't seem to have the venues.
Oh.
So there's only a number of small venues out there for that sort of bands. So it's my it's my to-do list to come over to Sweden and Norway. And
how about London?
You've got the underground in London, but I live in Wales, and you're talking about 200 miles away.
Okay.
But I go up to London to see bands and things like that. And now I'm doing what I'm doing. It's I'll travel all over the country to support and photograph and review concerts, because it's my love now. Music and vinyl is my life.
Okay.
So with you saying about you've had to cancel your tours and all that, have you rescheduled anything, or are you waiting until this epidemic is finished?
Waiting at the moment, because our booker, it's a guy from Denmark. He's living in Denmark. He is trying to work it out. How will it be postponed? Can it be postponed? And when, and so forth. So we're just waiting for to see how it pans out at the moment, because transportation is a hard nut to crack at the moment. It's something we have to work around.
Yeah, it's I don't know what's going to happen now. The UK is out of Europe. I don't know how that's going to affect touring bands coming to the UK, especially the smaller bands, which would normally be able to do it by getting or piling up a minibus and then piling over to the UK to do it. But
yeah, that's what we did last time.
Yeah.
We took the ferry from France, I think. Yeah, from France, and it wasn't any paperwork or something, but I assume we have to do the normal passport stuff and visa.
I think that's the case now. Finally, have you got any plans for the UK? Maybe some festival dates or a full UK tour? Any plans for next year, 2021?
Oh, there were loose discussions about that going back to UK. There were a couple of gigs and promoters or bookers and arrangers from last time. This was in 2016, if I'm not miscorrect, where the bookers from venues in Leeds and Manchester, if I'm correct, they wanted to do something again, and I don't know if it involved Bosk. It's a British band from up there, somewhere up there north. So they wanted to do something again with us, and we said go for it. But then this whole epidemic came up, and then so we have to. It's the same thing there. We have to see what the arrangers say, what if he is able to postpone it.
Well, I've got I got a few connections to do with getting bands into the UK in the sense of organizing events and stuff like that. So I will certainly be putting your name forward, and hopefully,
Awesome.
hopefully could get you back over to the UK, because I think music, like yourselves and all that, really needs to have as much support as possible. And there's so many great bands out there which need the exposure. Do you know what I mean? And like I say, I'm gonna see what I can do to try and get you guys back in the UK.
Oh, thank you.
So anyway, thank you for this. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Oh,
and,
thank you.
Great interview. I will I'll let you go now, and you can study up on your electricity.
All right. Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, brilliant.
Was there any unclear what do you call it? Was any of the answers unclear or something like that? Do you have anything you felt